in the plaza.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I think I'm gonna make my way after this.
It was really cute. They were all hanging out. I thought, this is what college should be like.
Mhm.
I ran
Events all
into,
the time.
I ran into one of my freshmen and she walked over to me, she goes, "Bye, I'm checking this out." And I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah, I bet, yeah.
'Cause I think it goes till 4.
Join you guys over here if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I was in college, the first week of classes, they had Devo play on the plaza, even the band,
Mhm.
and it was like, you know,
Mhm.
so exciting.
Yeah.
Shows my age. And my students don't even know it.
Is there still like a college radio station for UKU? Okay.
Well, WKU is the NPR
It's
station,
NPR,
but there's no, yeah.
It's not like a college, like kid ran, like, which would be sketchy a little bit, but student running,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get started. Those of you on Zoom, you can hear me. If you could just put something in the chat or unmute yourself, that would be great. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Thanks, Bill. So thank you, Alex, as well for inviting me to speak a little bit about what our role is in terms of positionality in the first year experience. A little bit about myself. I work here in the faculty center. Previously, I had some positions in enrollment management, helping recruit students, specifically helping transfer students a little bit later on also. I taught about 5 years ago. That was fall of 2020, so that posed some challenges in and of itself. And then I've revisited the classroom as of this year into GSC again. But the title of this presentation is called More Than a Class, What's My Role in the First Year Experience? And I want to harp or focus on the phrase my role, as I didn't say your role. I think there's something very intrinsic about us taking accountability and being educators and providing experiences to our first year students, especially knowing the student population that we serve here at the institution. And so what I'd like to do first, if you could humor me, if you're on Zoom, you can put this in the chat, though you don't have to. And if you're in person, you can write it down again. You don't have to. But take a few seconds and think of a word that describes your actual first semester. You see how I switched to your semester as an undergraduate student. Just take a few seconds, write it down if you want to. Again, online, go in the chat if you'd like to as well. Someone said scared, chaotic, overwhelming, hot mess. Okay.
Challenging.
Chaotic,
Another chaotic, scary,
transformative.
transformative. Okay. Okay, asset there. Yeah. Difficult,
Exciting.
exciting as well. Yeah.
That was the third thing.
Which I. We should give it to my mom.
All right, well, those are all certainly true, and I think that's true for me as well. When I came to the institution, I graduated with my undergraduate here. I was a first-gen student, a product of a mom who graduated from high school and a father who, I think, left in middle school or somewhere around the bounds. So I really didn't know much about what a college education actually was when I first came in. And I'd like to also invite you again to think about one person at the university or during your undergraduate career who made a positive impact or a positive difference. So this one, I want to take a few minutes to think on, a little more than 30 seconds. Who was one person, and again, write it down if you want to, who made a positive impact during your undergraduate journey? And then as you're thinking about that, for those in person, I actually want to take this a little bit further and have you talk amongst yourselves. If you could, if you don't know each other, share who you are, share your one word that you just shared out, and then talk about that one instructor and what impact they had on you. For those of you who are online, I'll do a quick breakout room. I just want to take 3 or 4 minutes to do this, and then we'll move on from there and talk about that a little bit more. All right.
And you're.
But we're still here.
Training my brain.
You know what I mean?
I teach, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do less on it. So
You are stacked up.
Sure.
Mine,
Best.
maybe Abby,
One of these workshops.
because I work for her sister
I know.
in the Success Center, because her sister ran a Success Center.
Like-
And Abby was my first instance of like seeing somebody fight tooth and nail
Now, I remember that.
processes and structures that help
Oh, I
Like-
read.
insert the word here, people.
Brandon.
You know, like where I like saw how like, she's like, no, I need funding to run these things to really help people that you don't think about.
That's
And I was just like, man, she's like trying really hard to do this. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, especially nowadays, but yeah. What about you?
So I had, my labor supervisor for he was my labor supervisor across basically for all of my time in Korea. And
And then I asked about the radio.
is he's still there. That's a very supportive person. And after college, I mean, my 2 words were chaotic and transformative. It was crazy. But he throughout all of that was just really a rock and a support. Even if we didn't talk about the chaos and shit. He was a great, steady person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. You just. No, that's good. My freshman year of college, I had a graduate student teaching my English class.
Relationship and you just show
Interactive and
that
engaged.
how things get
And that is over to some.
We talked about
And
classes
it's like,
for 30 seconds.
you were 18,
And
but.
then that was it. But it was just kind of cool. to see.
No, I didn't bring them in because I was like, I didn't have a strap. But yeah, but anyways, but it's just so encouraging and very critical to get off.
I did have one
of
of
my
my
student background papers and I should
I mean,
remember that.
they were
for a
all
long time.
awesome, but one particular is cracker was.
But, you know, just someone who made you feel
And
like you were.
Even now, I have a relationship with her and we'll get dinner every now and then and stuff, you know, in class. And she made the
Mine was out.
experience
He was.
more personal, less transaction.
You do.
And made it more professional, and easier to.
Oh, never mind.
No,
I was-
no.
I was at-
Well, he is
Made a
now
difference.
one of the priests up in the Catholic Diocese. of Atlanta.
That's how I know who he is. That's how I know who he is. Good job.
Yeah.
I'll take a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I had him for my first semester freshman.
I also,
through,
my
And
geology
Had-
class for
to give
2
you
minutes.
like, and so.
One's very
Once I
bad.
took his
It
first.
was,
one,
one reason was, it was my first
you know,
college
just
prep
like-
season there.
Because.
And then
was just one of those
second,
faculty
I remember
that
him taking us all
makes
across
you-
Madison County in buses,
he
EP
made you
buses,
switch to student.
to look at rock structures. And me just being
Yeah.
like,
And
this is
so-
all, like, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
we get to, he's like,
So-
we're hopping in the van today, kids, and we would just all go in there and then just like driving around Madison County. I was like, we get to do this. Like, this is insane.
Was.
So I always remember that class, very.
And like, it took a while, but I think he's.
I don't think he's still here.
Parish's first.
I think I know him through some.
So like working.
Actually. Yeah, anyways, but yeah, I was
On the theme, I had some others, I wasn't people. Evolution is this.
It was, it's very Jackson's had a good place, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't get to. But,
So you're outside.
yeah. That's around 2017. I love sticks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's
This,
Yeah. Tennessee Method.
I also got, I don't know if you're into Pokemon, but I picked up a,
If that was a good.
yeah.
Is
Uh,
it just a fidget or?
it's, yeah, it's nice. You wanna have a couple looks at it?
No, just,
Mm.
oh, the 3D printed.
Yes.
Mhm.
A friend reprinted it, and he's been selling those. And all that he had left during Millstone Festival was quickballs, and I was like, quickball is actually my favorite one, because everybody takes like football, like, you know what I mean, the stereotypical whatever. And he had this quickball and a dust ball. A dust ball, it's like, it's tortoise shell printed kind of, and it's green hexagons with black and red.
I'm assuming that helps you translate like
ETS, did you go to ETS?
dark.
He went to.
It's
he went to-
yeah, it's
no,
like,
to,
I think it's like creatures in the cave.
Tipsy West.
Yes, like, yeah,
Oh,
of
okay.
like, or it's either cave or night, and I can't remember because it's
And then
came from the
you-
3rd gen, and it's been a minute since I've.
All right, so I think everyone's back. If we can, I'd like to hear from the Zoom folks first. Is anyone brave enough to come off of mute and tell me your conversation and your one person?
I'll go. I was just saying that for me, I was actually a non-traditional student, and it was a boss that I had at the time who was just very supportive and encouraging because I was a first generation college student, didn't think college was for me. Who was like, "Hey, you can do this. I believe in you, and I'll help you make that goal happen." So for me, it was a boss.
Anyone else? Anyone else online?
Yeah, so mine was my academic advisor when I finally got in the College of Business. It was Dr. Jennings, and she was amazing and was always looking out for me.
All right, anyone in person? Y'all want to share?
No, so mine was a English faculty member who I took my very first semester in undergrad. And once I took his class, I took every single class possible with him, but he was one that just engaged with students, made it like, you knew he cared how you did it in class, but then also his classes were. So, and now he's a priest.
Another career. All right, well, thank you all for sharing. I had written down some of what I heard a little bit. Interactive, engaged, encouraging, loved feedback, supportive. You knew they cared. Very rarely what I heard was that they were an expert in history, or they were an expert in philosophy, or they were an expert in biology. So that's the point that I'm trying to get at as we think about who we are as instructors, especially in the first year experience. And so then I'd like to talk a little bit about institutional agents. I was introduced to this term during my research for my dissertation. It's a part of a researcher who talks about who institutional agents are. And if you want to read there, specifically high status, non-kin agents who occupy relatively high positions in the multiple dimensional system, who are well positioned to provide key forms of social and institutional support. So to sum that up, basically people who help students, right? And then further, the researcher asserts that institutional agents are unique because they provide authentic empowerment. And so when I read that, I want to highlight some of the key phrases that I heard. So high positions, well-positioned, social, institutional support, drawing from empowerment theory and authentic empowerment. So those are the types of ideas coming from this notion of institutional agents from the conversation I'm having with you today. And so then the conversation transitions to, are we gatekeepers or are we agents? So just broadly there, I provide an explanation of a gatekeeper. Those are individuals who enforces rules and policies without context, a very narrow view of their position. And the researcher argued that people in our positions as instructors and as educators unknowingly act as gatekeepers. So maybe not even realizing that they are a gatekeeper or gatekeeping information that could support a student's experience. But on the good news is, as we think about institutional agents, we really have the choice to support students in what capacities we have in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Ideally, an institutional agent is someone who opens doors for students, They translate confusing language, the people that just described from all of your all's stories, both in person and online. And you're serving as that person, that engaged, that interactive, the supportive, the encouraging individuals that transcend beyond the subject matter that you're teaching. And you can be an institutional agent whether you use the framework term or not. And again, moving a little forward, as we think about the strengths of our students that we have coming in every semester, oftentimes there is this deficit mindset or this, what are students lacking or what are students not bringing? Okay, well, they're not ready to take a math class. Okay, they're not proficient in this area. Maybe they're new to Kentucky. They don't know the culture of a public regional institution. All of these things that we're focusing on that students don't actually have. And I think what we need to start realizing is students aren't really arriving with deficits. They actually arrive with a lot of positive experiences throughout their life. This is true for the population that I research with transfer students, but also true for the first-year students coming in. And knowing the institution and knowing the students that we serve, like you all mentioned, first generation, a pretty good proportionate amount of students here at this institution. So there's many frameworks that talk about deficit and asset-based thinking. Does anyone know of any frameworks off the top of our head that talks about this idea of thinking of students in an asset approach? I'm just curious.
We use it in student guided advising as far as looking at their strengths when they're like, instead of looking at their family ties as a negative, then having the strong community ties as a support system.
Strong community.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the frameworks that I read about was this notion of community cultural wealth, if you've heard of that. Some people have, some people haven't. Some people like the framework, some people don't. But it's comprised of things like aspirational capital, maintaining hopes and dreams for the future, even when students are facing barriers. I think that's important to focus on. Despite resistance, they still have a capacity to be aspirational, to maintain hope. So students don't arrive with deficits. Again, they arrive with a wealth of capital, not just from their self, but their communities and their home. Further linguistic, the intellectual and social skills learned through communication, more than one language. Oftentimes we associate this with code switching how you communicate or speak based on the environment that you're actually in. This could be very literal in the sense of a student who is Spanish speaking in an English class, or this could be a little bit more abstract. And then we have familial capital. And that's the cultural knowledge nurtured among family that carries a sense of community. So this is the student's own personal experiences, cultural intuition as mentioned there, memory, history, etc., things that they resonate with. And I find these three to be important, more so important than, let's say, social, navigational, or resistance capital, because they're deeply personal. Aspirational, familial, those aren't necessarily things that you always get in the classroom, right? These are things that students are bringing into the classroom more so than not. And they hit home, literally. Familial, they hit home to students. And if you want to take a guess at the next three, I just talked about them: social, navigational, and resistant capital. So social is fairly straightforward, networks of communities, resources, people, and bridging those together. And then we have navigational also, so maneuvering different situations. We know students have to maneuver different environments throughout their first year here. And then we have resistant capital. So for example, I mentioned the student who speaks Spanish at home and maybe has an English class. We also have students who may be helping their parents fill out the FAFSA or fill out things that are related to the college process that they've not been introduced to before. So that's why all of these different forms of capital I find important for us to at least be familiar with as we think about helping students inside the classroom. Our job as agents, if you will, is to recognize the capital that they already possess. So not just focusing on what they don't have and helping them see how it applies to this notion of a new environment, or for us, the four-year institution. And further, I'd like to highlight resistant capital just a little bit more for a moment, because I think for me, at least, it can be hard to conceptualize. And in fact, I've in some of my research myself, I've found the resistant capital pop up from time to time. And I think at least there's something fascinating to me about this notion that capital accumulation can occur through adversity, through challenge, through barriers. Because it seems to me that may be a little counterintuitive at times. And so if we think about this further, this is a quote that I'm pulling from myself selfishly. Students develop capital through their own adversity when institutional agents could have provided more thorough support. Now, it's easy to say, well, I'm doing the best I can, and I think every single one of you are doing the best you can. I mean, in terms of workload and teaching and advising and all the things that we have to do. But the point there is that they had agents who weren't doing the best that they could and who weren't providing the support that they needed. And sometimes that can be hard to scale. So how do we personalize advising to all of our student populations in the same department or in the same college? Those things can be tough. But ultimately, capital was accumulated through forced self-reliance. So students forced to rely on their self. That could be things like students having to research things that institutional agents have provided to them. I've seen that in the research. And as well, a question that I have here is, do you think students have adequate support at this institution? I think they do. I think the answer is yes, but I think that all of us still have areas to improve as it relates to this iterative approach of working with students, because students do change over time. All right, so I'd like for you to again, take a few minutes, work in some small groups here in person, and I'll open the breakout room here in Zoom. Talk about these 3 questions here. So share a common challenge that you personally see in your first year students. I sent out a worksheet prior to the session. You can reference that if you want to. There are copies here or in the email that you received. Then talk about which forms of capital that challenge relates to. And then if you want to point yourself as an institutional agent, what would you say one small thing you could do to help? So common challenge, form of capital, and thing to help. Let's take about 5 minutes and do that. And again, for Zoom, I'll do the breakout room here in just a second.
Ignorance of policies, processes, and
Academic capital.
yeah, absolutely. It's not the element that goes into the personal goals. This empathetic.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. Because that's fine. They feel like they have. And I don't make sense that every people, there's, you don't get it. Like, I want to make sure they're healthy. Mentally, physically, like, information.
Those are, the exercises, they're plentiful.
Such as some that I think can build from their initial interactions with people at the university and
They're so
systems within the university. Because if their initial interaction to is one of that resistance of having some of that work, maybe the cancer statements. Right. That's the.
But
how they
in
express on, you know, and I think that
I don't
feel like they look.
because I know to what to expect. So I just kind of
trouble and having.
Which
They would not expect help.
yeah. So maybe it was a first not.
Like, oh, I gotta put that thing for my professor. And they just were telling me everything that I was saying, like, that's not always just great, that was such an email, which then doesn't. Stuff. So, you should go.
see,
A space
I would
for
say,
skill building.
I agree with those. So please do not say what I'm about to,
Yeah.
take what I'm about to say and be like,
They'll like basic
I think
skills like that,
Um,
ability to.
I-
Like, I
I
think
hear-
encourage you to classes.
I believe it's more
Space for that,
social capital, at least what I see.
skill building process
Because-
of-
And this goes back to something I've been like talking about in the office, I feel like for months, ever since we started, so I apologize, you're gonna hear it again. Which is the it's more social capital.
Right.
Because I don't know
Yeah, and I,
that
you know. students are-
first year students, especially the ones we work with, I don't know about colleges, do not understand purpose and value within their own,
Really.
that they are coming in
Yeah.
with the knowledge that they're being told,
Yeah, but,
Run on. you won't have a good paying job. Versus when I came in and I was told I was gonna probably get bonuses. Right? And when you ask, especially GSD 101 students, again, I don't know about you can chime with college's perspective. If you feel like you got that, or if you've seen this, but when we ask students, like, what do you value? Like in life, like you gotta pick 5 values that describe your core, who you're trying to be. They don't know what values are.
I'm gonna be curious what you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those values are just about work and they even struggle with that. And it's like, I was talking about this with the first year leaders yesterday. And, you know, that's a whole different conversation. We'll go down the rabbit hole, but I almost believe it's more social capital, because if they have values and purpose and understanding of the grand scheme of the entire architect of life,
I know.
not necessarily like
No, I do.
higher order, but I'm saying like purpose and values and who you want to be as a person, then like they may be more motivated to just do anything. You know what I mean? Like they may be more motivated to
Cause I.
reach out when they struggle because they know that one of the values is for them is achievement, and they want to achieve this degree. And so they can do that.
I mean, internal versus external, motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What
like,
is it, huh?
they have a lot of external motivations that say, go do this, like we've told them to, but
They don't.
Make sure that.
I don't even know that they know why they don't want to. Like, well, I don't even know that they know, like I said, their values are, or just purpose of like, I told my students today for the next series, I was like, your purpose of a job can be just to make money, and that's fine. And you do not have to justify it. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, because it's your own purpose. So anyway, that's a long-winded way to say there's like a weird social capital.
I just feel like it all feed into one in various ways, like you can use, start at solutions for things why. And then the academic comes in, and then
They're like,
I'm supposed to then.
here's my password.
And
No,
I guess it's
they're
not
like,
like
I changed my password, my crypto, which I still either on it.
But I just.
I like how you said they don't know what the why, they don't know what is their why, basically.
Yeah. I really think I'm gonna be a business major,
See, in mine, I.
Yeah.
but then also
that was a big.
maybe their dad was.
My business just.
Yeah.
Just let me do whatever.
I think a lot of it comes from my fear. I'm really scared of
Oh, but
Yeah.
like,
best friend.
what's it gonna look like?
Was
for
checking.
them? Like, not only in terms of the world, but like, if they are majoring in things that they don't even know that they have purpose or value in, then in 4 years when they graduate, they're gonna be like, what am I doing?
Don't eat it, whatever.
I said, I don't care.
You're not gonna be that.
Yeah.
Parents, like-
I'm 2 seconds away from buying a cabin in the woods, and you will never hearing from me ever. Like, I'm gonna be so real with you. I'm like if you see not a 2 weeks notice, but a 24-hour notice, just know I bought a cabin and I'm out of here. I mean, I got the pickup truck.
That's true.
I can make it work.
Everything.
Oh, yeah, you'll notice she'll be, Michael's like, I've been teaching her a lot, now I don't hear from you. I've learned enough. To move on.
Excited to get.
Or curses. I
Thank
think
you.
it's like these kind of-
Oh,
Also excited.
Yeah, 'cause,
Korea.
Yeah.
yes, so it's like with a lot of things, but yes.
Yeah, so my goals,
Yeah.
I sent him a whole list of
That's the problem.
goals his Twitter gardens, it was just like. You know.
And then a small thing you could do to help. I want to make sure we just answer this last one just in case. Because, with both of you, I can get off topic 100% of the time. But what do you think, like, with all these things that you're hearing, you provided a really good outside. What do you think?
Oh,
No, because we also thought about a few different things. And I one that bringing awareness.
What's one small thing you could do that helps?
If
From a
our
hospital.
stuff, they're just like, do they know that they have these rights to capital?
Yeah.
Do they know, what is their place?
I do encourage.
And then what do they do with that capital and how do they align their life and experiences in a way to reach those goals if they know what they want?
Which, I mean, we keep coming back to that, but it's that.
I don't know that I have a real answer other than I stop thinking how I do things and GSD.
Slow down.
Slow down, take that time, check in with yourself.
Each
And then
semester that I keep getting a little bit better for the students.
Oh, I'm so ready to take a quick moment. Look at this past semester, and be like,
Give
all right,
yourself
this
grace.
is what I need to do a lot better.
And
Yeah.
don't think about everything.
Like, I think you don't want to, the good thing about
Everything
GSD
doesn't
is that
have to happen.
chapter is the
Think about what you can do next week today.
like, make them,
But like,
even if
break it down into those
in 1 year,
small
not be like a
bite-sized
navigational
pieces that
resume
are
later.
accomplishable.
So I've had
I think
students
that's-
that were in
and that's
one of the
sometimes-
first or second CSTs that I taught come back later and the irony for random things and doing up stuff that
This,
I
you know,
was like,
Yeah.
and of course it's such a.
and like, that's.
That was
Doesn't that feel
all
great?
procrastination.
Yes.
It's like, you know, what's gonna be
You
great,
know, it's funny.
Is- but you teaching this 2 years ago? Or when did you start teaching this for us?
Spring 24.
Now you have to not.
So,
You have to just listen. And
She's just venting.
she's been.
Yes, spring 24.
When there's.
I'm running a
Has all my-
student on spring 27.
Yeah.
they're like, I'm about to graduate, like, and you know them, because you've helped them, like, come talk to me and tell me how that experience is, because it's like, none of it.
Yeah.
Whenever I was teaching high school, it was a set, like, they'd come by my office, I mean, you see them come in,
We had to.
and,
Yesterday.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
it's just like, I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
Because of that moment, like, that you get that.
Got to see, not as the GFT professor, as an advisor to students that I welcomed in as freshmen, and then checking on their graduation. That's really exciting.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, it was really, really fun. I was working with my current members and they were just like. virtual assistant.
All right. Looks like everyone's back in the Zoom room. We'll start here in person. Alex, do you want to start, or Molly? You can start with what your table is discussed.
yeah, I'll start with one idea, and if you could back me up, because I'll get on a tangent, and I need Molly to take me out of the tangent sometimes for this. But I think a lot of what we were saying was kind of twofold with kind of common challenges. The first being just knowledge of resources and knowledge of when to utilize the resources. Like the Student Success Center exists, but when is it open? When can I go? How can they help me? And I know GSD people, a lot of times we talk about that in class, but it's kind of one of those things of a lot of times our students, I don't know if you all feel the same way, but sometimes things go in one ear and out the other. And so you're like, did you even hear me that the Student Success Center is in the bottom of the library? So we kind of have to deal with that. And then the other thing we talked about a little bit, and this is the one I'm going to have to like really work through because I will get on a tangent of, is kind of like one of the things I've been seeing a lot working in the office for first year courses is the lack of understanding of purpose and values. So like values, meaning if I go up to a first year student, especially in my 101Z classes, and I say, what are your top 5 values? I don't even know that they know what values are unless it's been printed on a t-shirt for them and they wear it once a week.
Interesting.
And then purpose, meaning like, how do those values play into the purpose of what I want out of life, right? Like we're in the Max series right now for all my 101Zers and exploratory people. And today I talked with my students about, it is not morally abhorrent to say, all I want out of a job is to make a shit ton of money. Like, that's not bad. Like, you're allowed to say that. That's why you work, because then you can take that money and then do whatever you want with it. And that's fine to let that drive your purpose. But past that moment, I don't know that they know like purpose of life, not to tag it to any one thing, but just to say like, what do you want out of life? Like, what do you value? How do you want to improve upon your values? So it's, like I said, what we were saying, the resources, and then also just abstract understanding of values. Did I hit that group?
Yes.
Did I? Okay.
You,
cool.
yeah.
I'm gonna sit to your table.
All right, what about room one on the Zoom? What was your all's conversation? Was it similar, different?
It was similar, but the one thing that we said that they're afraid to ask us any questions. We feel like they're afraid to come to us, but of course, us that have first year leaders, that's why we have them in our rooms so that they will feel more comfortable coming to a peer rather than coming to us for questions, because they're afraid they're going to ask a stupid question, even though there are no stupid questions. That's just in their head and they're afraid to ask questions.
All right, what about room 2 or 3?
I can go. I think in our room, we talked about a lot, but I think overall we kind of summed it up saying they were just overwhelmed. And that being overwhelmed came from a really big, long list of things that were challenging them all at the same time. And so when you take all of that hitting them right at the very beginning, they become very overwhelmed. I mean, they don't know how to advocate for themselves. And that was one of the main things we talked about, was just trying to teach them to be their own advocate and what that even means, and why that is important. But they're overwhelmed with a whole list of things that hits them all at once.
And then the last room online.
I'll take this one. Maybe a common challenge is this, that they don't know how to manage, or they don't know what to do with their independence. So they really kind of struggle with time management and priorities and responsibilities.
Yeah.
And then we'll go in person.
I'll talk to you.
Oh.
I think Misty, when I said they're afraid, and we kind of said that as like their anxiety levels or like next level almost. So they're just intimidated, I think, by everything. And we talked about how like we're still in like the post-COVID world, and I think that plays a lot into it. And navigating for us as instructors, like how do we foster that sense of autonomy and all that? That was one thing. I don't know if you wanted to comment. I mentioned this. That's really
Which
good.
one?
Oh.
Oh, the lawnmower parent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We learned a new term over here.
So what was it?
So,
Lawnmower parents.
Okay.
So they go a step beyond, they helicopter parents in the sense that they clear the way for their students. To make life easier.
mhm.
And so we're dealing with a lot of those students now because they were at home during COVID and the parents helped them do their assignments and helped them. They didn't have any autonomy or need to do things on their own.
Yeah.
And now that they're in college and they're in theory supposed to be doing it on their own, their parents are then. I have several in my class are like, I can't, my parents require me to give them my password. And so they have full access and I have no autonomy as far as that goes. So that sense of
They're adult by
being an
age.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah.
So I heard Alex mention passion and purpose, and I want to revisit that third question there. As an institutional agent, what's one small thing you could do to help? How do we teach things like time management that's seemingly abstract, and also something that we as instructors may be working on ourselves? How do we teach that as an institutional agent? Or how do we foster a sense of passion and purpose? I mean, there's a reason why we have those on the Turner Gate in students. That a conversation earlier today, we were talking about students wanting more information about careers and skills. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Thing I do a lot with my students is I was one of those that decided what I was going to do in high school, where I was going to go to school, what I was going to major in, what my career was going to be. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I majored in biochemistry. I went to school where my dad went. And I want to be a doctor because who doesn't respect a doctor? And of course, once I got so far into my major, I went, I'm actually better at Spanish and French and English. And I refused to switch. And I want to give some of these students the idea that they can change if they need to. And not like I'm telling them to change your major every second, but just because your mom wants you to be a nurse doesn't mean you have to be a nurse.
Yeah.
And I've run into that a lot where parents are pushing students toward a major. And if you don't have the passion for it, you're not gonna be successful. So I do try to help them understand their values. They don't always understand what they want. They want money. They want a cute dog and an adorable spouse and a big house. They want to go on fancy vacations. And
That is the dream. They want the Instagram life.
they want the Instagram life but as far as career, they're kind of still following what they were told or what they think they should do.
I think that I was talking to the first year leaders we have, the peer mentors we have, and like to that point, it's a lot of the first year leaders. Obviously, they know their values because they're already mentors, so they're a little bit above the like general ed population, right? But a lot of the times they knew their values and purpose because of like examples from not only parents, but a lot of times from teachers and coaches that were positive examples of them utilizing those values, right? Like if one of my values is fairness, then that, I remember my high school history teacher, Mr. Corey Sayer, talking about fairness and how it's needed for a civilized society and like, because he taught history. And that's where that value and how much it impacted. And so I almost wonder if like, as you know, GSD instructors in your case of like sharing those values and how they've been utilized in your life and that those purposes and giving examples could almost like have them be like, well, I wonder if compared to what I'm going through, if it's the same deal. You know what I mean? Like, and probably some other things, but at least saying like, yeah, I value fairness, I value empathy and all these other things and showing them why would help kind of formulate, oh yeah, these are things that maybe I should think about for a second. I don't know. That's kind of like what my first year leader said yesterday.
That's good.
Does anyone online have anything else to share before we move on? All I see on my screen is Carla, Lakin, Bethany. Anything before we move on? All right, well, what I don't want to focus on necessarily is going back. Well, my slide isn't going back, but going back to this notion of the framework of an institutional agent and empowerment theory and all of this. But really the reason of this conversation, I'll call it, is just to open up a line of communication of how we view a student and what we can do for ourselves to help students moving forward. So it's not so much, you know, taking a theoretical lens at supporting students, but to the notes that I've written down, again, focusing on the first year experience, time management, students feeling intimidated, students maybe not being able to navigate everything all in one semester or 2 semesters even. These are the things that I'm wanting us to think about. So as we conclude, it's not a full hour, but if you had the worksheet that I sent out over email, we don't have to fill it out now, but take that, think about what's one small thing that you can do personally in your classes and implement that in a way that's supporting students. There were some things I heard earlier that struck with me. If you know anything about relationship-rich education or that framework, having this notion of a relentless welcome or being transparent in the things that you're doing. Some students in my class gave me some good feedback on, well, you didn't really explain this assignment or this activity before you did it. Therefore, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. That's an easy change. Doesn't necessarily have to be a complete course redesign. Maybe I just take some time, ask feedback, and so on and so forth. So take that worksheet. If you don't have it, I will send that to you if you want the resources as well. But I'm going to end with any questions, any comments, anything that you all want to add as participants before we wrap up. All right, well, I hope you found this introduction helpful. I hope you've at least understood a little bit more about the different types of capital accumulation. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Alex. Otherwise,
can I make one comment, especially for the people online, about just first year ready certification, because this is the third one.
oh, this is the third one.
So
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
there, so some of you all in person or online may have hit your 3 out of the 4 for this first year certification. Chris and I will go through those and then in the coming month and make sure that we have it all kind of set in stone. We'll make sure that we have a correct list of, the certification who's got it by the time we all leave for Christmas break, because we will award those like in the spring, in a future event in the spring. But Chris and I, after the 4th one, we'll go through, make sure everybody that has gotten it has gotten it. If you do not have 3 yet and you're still needing one more, or maybe you just want to go 4 for 4 and be 100%, then guess what? The EES one that's coming up in about a couple weeks, as you may have realized, the essential employability skills is becoming a very big topic on campus. It's kind of ballooning. And so we know that we have named the session Aligning EES to Standards. We are still doing that, but we are recreating it to meet the needs of what, the university has also set forth of like how important essential employability skills are. So we are going to do the thing that the title says that we're going to do, plus we're going to do just a little bit more to make sure that, like I said, we're meeting the needs of what's happening on campus and like kind of how much campus is adopting essential employability skills. So I would encourage everybody to sign up. I know one of the things you'll get for that is a spreadsheet to help you curriculum map, which may be super nice, especially if you teach other classes. And we'll talk more about that at a later date. So I just wanted to make sure those 2 things were set.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. All right, everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. I know. Like you're.
Like high school.
Except for my Post-its.
Great
Great job, Chris.